And that's very welcome to hear, Minister. My question is to ask you whether you are aware of the considerable shortage that exists within the ECCE system, and if you will it's to do with the capacity, and if you'll make a statement on it, please, Minister.
Deputy. I understand your question refers to capacity in the ECCE scheme, the fact that service providers may prioritise full-time children over ECCE-only children, and that service providers do not always guarantee a childcare place for the second year of ECCE. From September this year, the annual number of ECCE enrollments will be approximately 114,000. Given that over 118,000 places were filled in the last program year, no significant overall capacity issues are anticipated for those expected to register for ECCE from September 2018. This is endorsed by preliminary data to be published before the end of the year from the annual public sector profile relating to ECCE places. My department will continue to monitor the situation as registrations are received for the 2018-2019 program year. Now, notwithstanding this, I recognize that there can be pressure in some localities. So I would urge anyone experiencing difficulty securing an ECCE place to contact their local city and county childcare committee for assistance. From September 2018, the ECCE program reverted to one single entry point only in September, with eligible children entitled to 2 full years of ECCE provision for the first time, fulfilling a commitment made in the program for government. And I believe that we have sufficient places to deliver on this important improvement. With regard to capacity generally in the system, my department also provided a total of $4.61 million in capital funding in 2018, specifically for the creation of new childcare places. This represents the creation of some 1,950 additional early years childcare places, of which 1,253 are for ECCE. So those are the numbers in terms of increasing capacity, Deputy, and if a gap in capacity is objectively identified, we can consider a range of measures to address those in collaboration with the local childcare committees.
Thank you, Minister, for your response. But in recent parliamentary questions, they revealed that there was a serious shortage in ECCE places around the country. And for example, particularly in the commuter belt of Meath and of Cork, like in Meath there seemed to be a shortage of 1,050, and in Cork there seemed to be a shortage of 2,260. I'm glad that in your speech there, Minister, you also acknowledged the fact that the prioritised that would fall within full-day settings, that they're being prioritised perhaps to the children that are enrolled in the full-day setting. I do think that it's something we need to address, because I recently was contacted by a parent who the only way she could get her child enrolled in the ECCE scheme was if she actually signed up to do a supplementary 1 hour and 15 minutes, which was going to then cost her approximately another €100 per week. And that's what some parents are facing, that they feel that their choices are being limited. And you did address that, Minister. It is something that I wonder that when parents are signing up for the 2 years as well, can it guarantee the second year's place, that it's not just that they're signing in to just 1 year? Is there any way we can write that into the script, that childcare providers must provide the 2?
1 minute.
Say, you know, I wish we could. I think what we can do is, you know, encourage and call for that in terms of our childcare providers, you know, who I think we would both agree are doing an excellent job generally throughout the country in terms of the provision of quality childcare places. But as you are well aware, the issues of prioritizing full-day places, not guaranteeing places for a second ECCE year, they're primarily matters for the service providers. They're free to set their policies in this regard. But my department actively seeks to ensure that adequate capacity to allow service providers latitude to accommodate all children and encourage them. And again, as you are aware, Deputy, we are in constant contact with the providers, not only through the county and city childcare committees, but also directly in terms of the different ways in which we gather the stakeholders together. So I think these are important points that you're raising. I've tried to identify too that we have have put aside and invest the capital, that we are in consultation with our providers, that if there are gaps, and you identify some, and you quoted some statistics there, to let us know, and my department, working with county and city childcare providers, want to ensure that there aren't any gaps at local levels and that we can do what we need to fill those.
Supplementary.
Thank you very much, Minister. I'm just wondering as well, like when it's pre-budget time and everything else, and I'm sure you're not going to tell me here today in relation to capital funding for some of these full childcare providers that do have a capacity issue, and they see the capacity issue coming down the tracks in relation to ECCE. Have we enough funding available that you award, which you do award and have done successfully for the last number of years, capital funding? Is there any way we could get more capital funding to help address this issue? Because I believe myself it is a serious concern. I think I spoke to you before about the Montbellew creche that needed another room to be put on. It's a full-day provider, but that is also what I'm experiencing in places like Claren Bridge and all around my constituency. And it's not just in East Galway. There's capacity issues where full-time childcare providers would like the opportunity to access funding to expand, and I'm just wondering if you are looking in a capital programme of expansion for funding in next year's budget.
The short answer is yes. I mean, we're making plans already, in relation to looking at 2019 in terms of the capital investment, and also, again, the amount is important, as the Deputy knows, but it's also what you do with that money and how you target it in the way that we believe can best support the needs as identified. And again, also, as you know, we have ongoing research and monitoring, both through Pubble but also our own work, to try, and as well the great work of yourself, Deputy, and other deputies, letting us know where there are those gaps and where there is that local need, in order to try to match what we have to invest and where the need is. So I can say we are on target in terms of identifying the plans for 2019. Yes, we have some idea in terms of figures, but in addition to that, I think again, just to remind you that it was also identified childcare as a strategic priority in the National Development